Right Network. Mobilizing, countering the left, energizing the right. New Right Network, home of the New Right movement.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to New Right Network tonight. Your host, Brian Smith and
Gary Smith,
giving you all the late breaking news of the day, wrapping it all up, making sense of it, exposing the fake news and giving you the real news. And happy Good Friday, everyone. Carrie and I were discussing that before the show, and the question arose, why is it good? And the reason that I've been told that it's Good Friday is because Christ, God, first off, made the New Testament made a commitment to us, and Christ was going to be the bearer of all our sins. Again, I mention this all the time. John 3:16, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, whoever believes in him shall not perish but have everlasting life. That was the agreement that God made with us, and that's why I believe it's Good Friday. Other people may say other words, and I'll probably get blasted in the comment section below.
right? And if you've listened to us long enough and listened to me and some of my interviews that I've done talking about theology, I was raised essentially an atheist. It was kind of a mix between atheism and agnostic at best. And since then, I'd been baptized, and so I still am. Sometimes you feel like an outsider on some of this stuff. So you hear about the crucifixion, and you're like, "But it's called Good Friday.
Right.
Good. It sounds like a bad Friday." But
The more
Brian
that
clears that up with me.
and it's not because that I'm a scholar of the Bible. I am no, and I apologize. Matter of fact, my New Year's resolution this year was to read more of the Bible. I'm still working on that, but I've got a phenomenal pastor that just lays things out in a way.
Oh, he's great. He's great.
Is understandable, and not only that, he'll use historical facts that are written in the secular world, if you will, historical facts of things that we study in our history books, and he'll say, yes, that aligns exactly with the Bible right here. The Bible talks about it, and our history talks about it, and he brings it to today's world so that we can understand. And don't forget, Sunday, Easter, day that Christ rose from the dead, in the tomb for 3 days and came back from the dead. Christianity, and this is kind of a side note on that, but very, very important to understand because we're going to get into some things that aren't really very nice, but it's true. Christianity is the only religion, if you will, in the entire world, most of all of human history. I've never heard of anything else. And I've been told there was nothing else. There's no other religion that deals with the one single fact that we all will die.
Really?
No religion has ever dealt with that or overcome that.
Okay.
In a way, as Christ overcomes that for us, we will no longer die a death. We'll actually have everlasting life with God, Christ, that type of thing. So, it's very interesting that nobody else deals with that. And I don't know
with overcoming death. Yeah, that is interesting. You've actually said that on a previous show years ago, and I remember thinking I've never thought of it that way, and I've never heard anybody describe it that way. So it's very interesting. It's a really simplified way to understand a very complex thing as Christianity. So I appreciate it.
Right. Well, not only that, but something else too. And I it's not that that Christian, and this is a different type of view on Christianity that I'm seeing now that I had seen when I was young, when I was a kid. It was the suit and tie, the stuffy, the quiet,
You got to wear your Sunday best.
Yeah, it's your Sunday best. If you went to a private Catholic school, you probably got smacked around by the nuns with the ruler. Some things that people have negative connotations to. And my point to all of that, and to the atheists or to the ones that absolutely hate Christianity, because I've been there, I've done that. I know how you feel. So I felt the same way. But what I found out is that you have to have you have a misconception of a concept. Don't throw away the possibility of a relationship with Christ based on what human beings have done.
Right.
So you have all this issues with the Catholic Church, and people have come at me left and right with that kind of stuff. Because a human being did some really bad things, so I'm going to throw away a possibility of learning about Christ based on what a human being did.
Right. No, I mean, I've seen it a million times before where people who are overzealous or they get really angry if their evangelizing doesn't work, and all of a sudden it turns the people off from Christianity that they're talking to. And it's like, whoa. Christianity's not about that guy or that woman. It's about the Bible, Christ, and all that.
Oh, and something else that was brought up here recently, the Pope relating Christianity and Islam as being either similar or same or some kind of melding of things.
Atheists do that.
Right.
Atheists do that all the time. They Sky Daddy.
Right. A fact, in the Quran, it says that if you believe in the Father, Son, the Holy Ghost, if you believe in the triune, the three head, I think they refer to it, the three head in one, that you are an infidel. There is only one God. This three God thing is bad.
Well,
bad,
was
bad.
it you or somebody else was talking about, described the Holy Trinity in this way, is that there's 3 states of water, steam, and ice, 3 different states. It's the same thing.
Oh, gas.
Steam,
gas, water, and ice.
Yeah, there's 3 states of the same compound of water.
Gas, liquid, and solid. Right.
And so you don't look at a piece of ice and say, that's not steam.
I've never heard it put that way.
Yeah,
but
it's like 3 states.
Okay.
It's just in a different state, but it's the exact same thing. So that's the way it was explained to me, and it made perfect sense to me because of my science background. So there you go.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And as we're getting ready to go, I mean, this whole week was Holy Week for Christianity, and as we're coming up on Easter, there's some bad things going on out there. I mean, because we live in a world of evil. I mean, just bad stuff going on. There's some videos that have been put up here recently on the social media. I can't find the link right now, but if you go to my Twitter page, you'll see it. And it's just Muslims walking up to a statue of Mother Mary, one of the ones that people put in their front yard, walking up to it and screaming something in Arabic and Allahu Akbar and crushing it on the ground. It's just like, come on, man.
Right. It's just a way to try to rile people up.
Get people triggered. And this by Hey, It's Carolyn. I know we showcase her often because she has some great tweets. And this one is the hypocrisy that we're seeing right now in the Department of Miseducation.
Oh, and it looks like the video is from Amy Meck.
Yes, originally from Amy Meck.
Okay.
And I will put the sound up on this one. Well, the sound isn't really as important as what the actual act of going on. She says, where's the separation of church and state? Why are U.S. public schools allowing Muslim girls to show hijabs to fellow students? Can you imagine public schools allowing a nun's habit, rosaries, or yarmulkes? Slow indoctrination towards Sharia. And I'll make a big screen so you can all see. It's a bunch of high school girls that are Muslim that wear the head garb, teaching white girls how to accept their place in slavery. This is your place. This is what you will have. And they use pretty colors. One's white, one's green with pattern, one's red. One looks like a red, the famous bandana that a motorcycle biker would wear around his neck. And then black ones as well. This by the Journal Star. Folks, this is, I know it's in the schools. And that's what the big rile is about, that it's in our schools. And we know how they've removed.
I feel like there needs to be more information on this. Like it says, where's the separation of church and state? However, my question is, was this a school sanctioned thing, or was this some Muslim girls who just were doing whatever they want to do, and there were other girls there that were interested or curious or whatever, and they were all just peacefully playing along and everything's fine? Or was this
Absolutely.
Now if it was a school function, obviously if it's a public school, this would be a violation of separation of church and state for sure, if these girls were made to do this, and if not, they were given a bad grade. Or even if that wasn't the case, even if they said, hey, we're going to be showing you guys how to dress as Muslims next week, we're going to need parent permission slips and all that. You can totally opt out 100%, and it will not affect your grade. Still, there's a level of peer pressure and ostracization, if that's even a word, that goes along with that I would say would not stand the scrutiny of a Supreme Court decision. And so that if that is the case, that's what my take is on it. But like I said, if it's people just voluntarily doing whatever they want, you shouldn't be told that you can't do it because you're on school grounds.
I agree with that notion, and I think separation church and state is kind of a bad argument for this.
Well, it depends.
But
it may have been a school function.
If it's school function, it didn't look like it. Looked like some girls hanging out. It looked real casual. It didn't look
right.
But with that being said, if it's not school sanctioned, I'm cool with this. The problem I have with this is that we are slowly succumbing, and a PC-like world allowing the indoctrination of our daughters into believing, Linda Say-Sauer, that Islam empowers women somehow.
Oh, yeah, it's the opposite of that. It's definitely the opposite of that.
Right.
Look, I'm very, very tolerant of people doing whatever they want.
If you taught it in school, the Crusades and Islam and the Caliphate, if you taught in school what's going on in the Middle East, throwing gays off buildings and slaughtering Christians. Egypt used to be all Christian. Turkey was all Christian. Mm-hmm. And now it's all Muslim, and Turkey now fading its way into Sharia law.
They're trying to fight for a non-religious, secular, or maybe even Christian-friendly area that's very big on tourism in Turkey. And I haven't been there, but I have some friends that have been there, and I remember saying, whoa, you're going to Turkey, you better be very, very careful. And they're like, oh, no, there's this one area, very touristy. They want the tourism, they want that money, so they keep that area
really
friendly. It's a small area.
How long ago was this?
A year ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But I would not surprise me if that is getting smaller and smaller, and there's going to be possibly violence in that area. It's kind of like Mexico. So if you go near the border, you're really, really asking for trouble with the cartels.
Or Tijuana. If you go to TJ,
really? But go to Cancun,
you're right.
You are probably not as safe as in America, but probably the next best thing. I would say probably one of the safest places in the world outside of America is probably Cancun, because everybody in Mexico has just agreed, hey, this is our cash cow.
Right.
Don't mess with it. So that's pretty much the story with that. And same thing with Turkey.
No, that makes sense. I agree 100%. And while we're speaking about the First Amendment, this was posted up by @SEKUSA1. Freedom of speech issue here, Carrie.
Okay.
This is Muslims block off an entire New York City street.
Okay.
They use our freedom of speech laws against us while carrying out their hatred toward us. This is not freedom of religion, but trying to take over America and implement Sharia law. Okay. This is the Muslim prayer. This is where they are praying to Allah. They've are required to do this multiple times, five times a day?
5 times a day, facing Mecca.
Right.
On the prayer rug and all that kind of stuff. But in the Middle East, they have these giant, huge speakers to broadcast it across large areas. And apparently they're demonstrating that in New York City. Now, I'm assuming based on the tweet itself that this would have been legally done by permit.
I would think so. I don't think you could have a gathering like this without a permit.
Well, if
all
it's
the
that
electrical equipment, the speakers.
Yeah.
I mean, there's hundreds. It's probably thousands of people there.
Probably.
And here's my take on this. Okay, fine, freedom of speech, but you're impeding the freedoms of others. So there's a level. Freedom of speech doesn't mean you're allowed to come up to me with a bullhorn and start screaming in my ear to actually damage me in somehow.
Yeah, I'm actually shocked at that kind of stuff. That's unrelated to this video, but I'm kind of surprised that stuff is not deemed assault, because assault injures you, and certainly you're injuring somebody by blasting a bullhorn or blowing the whistle. You've seen that before. It would take an enormous amount of restraint for me to not retaliate on the whistle.
Oh, you and I have personally talked about this.
Yeah, an enormous amount of restraint for me to not assaulting kind, I guess. But
in retaliation,
right. It would definitely be self-defense,
without a doubt.
Yeah, I mean, I have the right to defend my hearing from somebody who is intentionally trying to do permanent damage to it. But anyway, getting back to the First Amendment, Congress shall make no law respecting the establishment of religion, prohibiting free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or the right of the people to peaceably assemble and to petition government for redress of grievances. So the big thing here is right of the people to peaceably assemble. Now, in general, especially in largely populated areas, you'd have to get a permit in advance because, anytime you start doing stuff like large assemblies, you then take away from the rights and freedoms of other people because they might want to pass through there or whatever.
Well, the right to life, the march in D.C. I mean, you've got what?
Oh, the whole thing's just shut down.
Hundreds of thousands, millions of people show up.
Right. And the thing about D.C. is it's a place where people go and peaceably assemble in large numbers. And so they know what to expect. They know that on any given weekend, any time of the year, you're probably not going to just be driving through the downtown area of DC because these demonstrations happen. New York City, if you jump in a cabbie is probably going to be like, what is going on here? Like freaking out. So that, there comes a point where there's a better way to peaceably assemble than to just annoy the hell out of people.
Right. And my other issue about this is that it's normalizing the culture of Islam. To normalize the culture of Islam and allow it to go ahead and flourish and do what it does, we see how that ends. Just like socialism, communism. Look at Venezuela. Look at the USSR. Look how that ended. Look at Greece or even Cuba. Look how those ended. Now let's look at Turkey. Let's look at Egypt. Let's look at all of the Middle East where Christianity flourished. Where does it flourish now? One small little tiny place called Israel. Mm-hmm. And everywhere around it for hundreds and hundreds of miles, maybe thousands of miles, nothing but Islam dominated slavery to women and to men. I make this point because as a man, if you do not do and keep your wife in line, you're in trouble too. So you're beholden to the laws and the upbringings, the beatings and the things that you got to do to keep your woman in line.
And that's Islam?
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Wow. Yeah, and it's ridiculous. It's totally preposterous to say that somehow that a woman deciding to go into Islam is now the decision for her to do that is obviously her last empowering decision to make.
It's like the women who go to the Middle East to walk through the Middle East to show that it's a happy place to be.
Oh yeah, that ended so badly. That was probably the most disturbing video I've ever seen in my life. A video was produced of the result of two women deciding to walk through alone in an Islamic area, and the country found those people and I think tried them and whatnot, and I don't know if that's still ongoing because they have a large tourism. This is Morocco.
Oh,
they have a large tourism industry that is obviously going to be affected. I'm gonna tell you right now, you ain't finding me there.
No.
And you're not going to find anybody I love going there without a long lecture by me.
History lesson.
Warning them.
Yeah,
warning them. You got to warn them.
And Paul Joseph Watson has done many, many videos on this. One video he took and he did his compilation, the best of, if you will, which is not really the best of, the couples, the husbands and wives from Europe who go to on vacation to bike through the Middle East, travel through the Middle East, and he shows the end results of every single one of those. The wife usually beaten and raped, and the man usually beaten and killed as well. Both of them, neither one of them come back alive. It's the culture that they live in. If you do not do what they say in their culture, that's it for you. In America, our culture, you can do what you want. And now we have another culture entering ours, doing whatever they want to actually impede on others' freedoms.
Yeah, and it's the thing is I think that the anti-Christian sentiment is really the problem, because you see this kind of stuff happening with the big Muslim prayer assembly in New York City is fine. If you get the permit and everybody knows about it and everybody's okay with it, and maybe it's a once a year thing or whatnot, that would be fine. But don't get your panties in a bunch when the exact same thing happens for a Christian march or something like that, and it ends up being this counter protest and lots of violence. And people, people are getting afraid to exercise their Christian religion.
I promise you,
publicly,
you're right. Well, and I promise you, the churches around America will probably have security, if you will, this Sunday, because of some of the things that have been going on. Now, the Notre Dame thing, in Notre Dame, however you want to pronounce it, Notre Dame thing, there's still no proof. There's no empirical proof that...
There has been new news about it. Last night came out that the police are now saying that they think that it was a short circuit.
Okay.
They don't say of what. Apparently, there was an elevator installed for the renovation workers, and so there was some journalists speculating as to the wiring of that somehow causing a short circuit. Why there would be a short circuit in a spot that could catch fire or something could catch fire, don't know. It's weird. I know that I've heard reports that electricity is not allowed anywhere near a lot of the church, or prior to the fire, and so it's just the whole thing's weird.
Yeah,
very strange.
A friend of ours, Bill, he's in our private message meetup group, and he made a point about the oak being 800 years old. He says that when oak dries out, it absolutely goes up fast. So he's under the guise that it could go up quick.
Oh, certainly.
Some other
they said
people,
the entire roof was made out of oak and lead.
Ooh.
Yeah.
But that's probably why the strange color that was coming out in the smoke.
Okay.
But some people are in a camp that says that because it's 859 years old oak, that it should be more of a petrification.
No.
But I don't think 859 years is enough.
Well, no. Wood, here's a little science for you. Wood doesn't automatically become petrified. It has to have very, very specific conditions, which is why the Petrified Forest National Park, whatever, is only in one location in the United States out west. You have to be covered in water and a certain amount of sediment. And what happens over the thousands and thousands of years is that the wood fibers get replaced by the the minerals. And that's what makes it turn to stone. The wood doesn't turn to stone. It actually gets replaced by stone. And so it being up in a roof would
That
never
would have
happen.
happened. Yeah.
It wouldn't become petrified.
Okay, so and again, security, probably heightened security around America with Christian churches. And this Sunday, this was news yesterday that not many people talked about because yesterday was Mueller. You know, it was
Mueller all day.
all day, all night. It's still actually, it was going throughout the night. CNN on fire, MSNBC on fire. And this was breaking. A man taken into custody by a New York Police Department after walking into St. Patrick's Cathedral in Manhattan with 2 gas cans and some lighters.
Suspicious. Okay.
This is just a still video. Well, it's a video of the cops out front of the cathedral. And the news is reporting that the man seemed emotionally disturbed. They're not ruling out terrorism at this time, according to NBC News.
Yikes. St. Patrick's Cathedral is another old one, very old. I know it goes back a couple hundred years, I think. Not as old as I think it's the Trinity Church.
Right.
Right there by Wall Street.
Okay.
Which is, I think was built in the 1600s. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, there's a very old one there. And I remember looking at it like, this looks old. And then there's a plaque or whatever that says when it was built. It's like 1699, I think. So there are some old churches in America.
And just to give everybody a heads up that the people in the UK and the people in the Frenchies, they, and I'm making this case to other people that are like, hey, Brian, why are you guys so upset about the Notre Dame thing? Come on, man. I'm like, well, here's what's happened because of that. News is coming out about all the other stuff that's been going down.
Okay. Like the black churches getting burnt down?
Yes. Yes. And Paul Joseph.
By the way, most of those are false flags.
Correct.
They've been proven that. That's why they're not in the news that much.
Right. And Paul Joseph Watson, who lives over there, did a video, showed 875 vandalized churches in France in the past year.
Wow.
So they're triggered over there. So when something like this accidentally happens, it's so easy as human beings to say, see.
Or to at least explore that possibility.
Right. Well, why not explore it? Why not question it?
Yeah.
We absolutely questioned it. I have been saying all along, there's no proof that it was or wasn't. I'm just saying, Here's what's going on over there.
It's okay to go down those rabbit holes. Just make sure you don't take us out of context and make it sound like that we're stating it as a fact or a most likely situation. We're just saying these are still possibilities. I still, I haven't heard anybody point this out. So, it is what it is. But American airliners flew into the World Trade Center in 9/11, 2001. And when you look at those, you would think, wow, I wonder what's wrong with those pilots.
Yeah, why would they do that?
Why would they do that? Well, what you don't know is that Islamic terrorists spent many, many years training on how to fly those things so that they can commandeer them and fly them into the planes. So the idea that an Islamic extremist could go into the construction industry in the right place, the right time, with the right language, and just making the right friends in the right places, could end up getting a job with the right construction company that does the renovations for a big 850-year-old Catholic church like that.
It would be easier.
Where they could then pull off the terrorist attack that they were training for.
Right.
So now that sounds very conspiratorial, but that's precisely what happened on 9/11. So, should we discount that? I would say leave it up to possibility.
Right. Well, and think about how much easier it would be to pull that off versus learning how to fly a 737.
Right.
What were they? What were they flying?
767.
767.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about a simpler operation here.
Right. And so we've got friends around the world, and because of social media, we're plugged into a lot of news all the time. At Chris_A10_USA, UK Muslim convert stabbed a stranger in the neck 6 times to establish himself as a fighter.
Okay.
Screaming.
I want to show the world I'm a fighter, so I'm going to stab somebody in the neck 6 times.
Screaming Allahu Akbar.
Somebody in our chat group pointed out the video that we mentioned, I think, on the last show that I was on, about it showed the church, Notre Dame in Paris, burning, and you hear voices of presumably Muslims screaming Allahu Akbar as it burns. And again, I don't think there was any picture in the video of Muslims at all. So to dub in that audio would have been incredibly easy. I have no skills, but I know how to use iMovie.
I could do it on iMovie
really
like
easily.
Yeah.
I'm not a Carpe Dunkum over here or anything like that. I'm not putting together animations or anything like that. I'm not working in Hollywood. It would take me as long as it would take to
find the sound clip.
Find the sound clip.
That's all you need to do is find the sound
and format it, upload it, and it's done.
Right.
And people would believe it. Trust me.
It is easy. Yeah,
I've inadvertently done stuff like, put something together and threw it out there, not thinking that people would take it seriously, and they did. And it's like, I was throwing out a joke there. Yeah. So it happens. It happens.
And it's not. See, certain things are very believable. Something like that is extremely believable. So to take advantage of people's,
confirmation bias.
Right. There you go. Confirmation bias. And as we shift gears, speaking of bias, oh my goodness, this whole Mueller thing is on its second leg of implosion. Nobody on the left is believing it, wanting to believe it. A lot of bad things being said about Bill Barr. However, don't believe them. We've got some good news that's coming out about this. And Donald Trump making victory lap after victory lap, if you will, over the night and throughout the day. This video posted up for us at Tiger Let's Roll. This is Donald Trump speaking about the attempted coup.
This was an attempted coup. This was an attempted takedown of a president. And we beat them. We beat them. So the Mueller Report, when they talk about obstruction, we fight back. And you know why we fight back? Because I knew how illegal this whole thing was. It was a scam. And what I'm most interested in, is getting started. Hopefully the Attorney General, he mentioned it yesterday, he's doing a great job getting started on going back to the origins of exactly where this all started. Because this was an illegal witch hunt. And everybody...
Awesome. I love that tie, by the way.
It is a nice tie.
He's got the navy blue coat, jacket, whatever you would call it, with the sky blue kind of. Yeah, I like that combination because I've never seen it before. Nobody has the guts to pull something like that off.
He pull off pink ties. Dude, Trump pulls off a pink tie.
I've seen pink though before. I've seen where the guy's trying to soften his image. Salmon. We don't call it pink. Men don't call it salmon. Yeah. So he had a fish tie on.
Right.
So yeah.
Attempt to coup.
Yeah, I'm glad he said it. I'm glad he said it exactly the way he did. I'm glad he called it illegal. What makes it illegal was the Fourth Amendment is important. Every time you hear about FISA courts, FISA warrants, spying on people, doing whatever you do in an investigation, every single thing they do has to go through a process that makes it, that conforms it, makes it, and keeps it legal within the confines of the Fourth Amendment. And they just absolutely obliterated the Fourth Amendment. It makes the whole thing totally illegal, fruit from the poison tree. And by the way, they didn't get any fruit.
Oh, no.
So
there was nothing gathered. They didn't gather anything up.
Not only is it fruit from the poison tree, it's actually just poison from the poison tree. They didn't get nothing.
Right.
Except a bunch of lies and a big fat nothing burger. So I hope that he goes through that. I'm really glad. Back when Brian first started calling it a coup, and largely because I'm going to have to give this guy credit. Bill Still
Oh, yeah.
was the first one to look right dead in that camera and say, this is a coup. There were other people that may have speculated before Bill Still finally committed to it.
Well, yeah,
He
would,
committed.
he would say, I'm still reporting on the coup.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. He would start no matter what it was. That's what his opening line was. So Bill Still deserves a lot of credit because he committed to it. It's one thing to say, hey, this kind of looks like a coup, but for him to commit to it the way he did, I just have a lot of commendation for him for that. But Brian started picking up and we were playing clips from Bill Still. And I remember thinking, okay, we're committing now.
And we're committing to the coup.
We're committing now.
Yeah.
So if this is really a coup, pat us on the back. If not, it'll look a little dumb. But you know what? Bam. It's a coup.
Absolutely. Now everybody's on board. The books have been written by everybody.
This was over a year ago, like a year and a half that they were talking about this.
They're saying all the
early.
They're saying all the way back to where
A little bit after the inauguration.
Obama is on clip. I had a video clip of him. Obama in late 2016, before the election, was making comments about Trump working with Russia.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it goes all the way back to November of 2016. Some say summer of 2016, but whatever was happening prior to November of 2016, this would have been after the election, was and there were a couple of rumblings about Russia this, Russia that.
And we blew it off.
Everybody did.
This is dumb. This is
Even
just
the left did.
Right.
The left was blowing it off. I mean, they made a stink about him saying, "Hey, if you're Russia, if you're listening, need those emails. We 30,000 emails. We need them. If you could get them." Obviously joking about that, and they made a stink about him saying that. But they didn't really hone in and really beat it to death because they knew it was a joke.
Right.
Later, they commit to that.
Later, they went back to that clip and said, see?
The whole thing. Yeah.
See, it's a dog whistle. He's calling out to Putin.
Oh, God.
So now we've got Barr doing his investigation, and Jack Posobiec tweeted this out. Hot take. Democrats who attempt to block Barr's spying investigation are obstructing justice and must be indicted under the Weissman theory of obstruction.
So
you had a comment. Yeah.
I agree with him 100%, except he's got to change that word block. Democrats who block Barr spying, there was no blocking by the right. If there was blocking, I think a legitimate argument for obstruction could be made. So I would have preferred that he used the phrase showing displeasure.
Yeah.
If you show displeasure, listen, you guys made your bed, Democrats. Now you're going to sleep in it. If you show any displeasure of Barr's investigation into your coup d'etat of our duly elected president, then you should be charged with obstruction.
Yeah, if you're angry in whatever form or fashion, whether you drop the F-bomb like Trump supposedly did, whether you said, oh my God, it's the end of my life, whatever you say, you're obstructing justice.
You just have to show any kind of discipline. If you don't love it, you have to have a fake smile and say, "We love it. Can you investigate us some more?" You don't show that. Boom! Right. You're obstructing.
Because if the FBI says you're under investigation, if you don't immediately say, "Holy crap, this could destroy my life," they have an open-ended pocketbook, and you don't.
Yeah.
If you don't say that, I mean, if you do say that, then it's all over with. So
you really are done this time, and you are effed.
This was a Politico poll. This article was written by Breitbart and talked about this poll, so that's where I got the poll from. But Politico, far left-leaning rag outlet, maybe.
Totally fake news. Yeah, it's propaganda.
However, I like using their polls when they don't look so good for them.
Yeah, and you can't make the argument, well, Brian, you call them fake news. You say they lie about everything. Now you're going to use them as a source? Hey, we're allowed to shove it back in their face.
Just saying. So the poll from the far left Politico and Morning Consult showed that nearly 4 in 10 voters, 38%, said they believed spying occurred, while only 28% said there was no spying. So 40 to 30, 40%, almost 40% said they were spying, 30% said no spying. Just take the 40%. Oh, that's only 70. Where's the other 30%?
Yeah. Where's that?
I'd like to find out what they say. So if you take the 30% that said, I'm still unsure, 70% said yes or unsure that spying occurred.
Yikes. Well, I think it was Comey that said, hey, when you get a warrant for a lawful surveillance of somebody based on a warrant, we don't call that spying.
The definition, literally the definition of spying is just that, Comey. It just complete insanity. And Comey is definitely out. Oh, John Brennan is violently attacking Trump on social media.
Not to cut you off and go backwards.
I was just filler space.
But the definition of spy is to work for a government or other organization by secretly collecting information about enemies or competitors, or to observe someone furtively, discern or make out, especially make careful observation. So how is this not spying?
Cohen was spied upon for many, 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 many months until he was served. Till his place was raided. So they were spying on him the whole time until his place was raided. Now, I'm not making defense of Cohen. I speak about that. Cohen said, and I forgot to say this yesterday, Cohen said that he's going to fill in the blanks of the Mueller report. All the redacted portions, he's going to fill that in for everybody.
Wouldn't that be illegal? If he was privy to it.
Well, he's going to prison anyways.
He may be able to avoid prison. This is almost going to seal the deal for him.
Right. Well, he also, because the Mueller report shows that Cohen lied even more.
I cannot figure out what their rationale is that unredacting the report. I'm still on board with this idea that the reason they asked for the full report was because they knew they weren't going to be able to get it. And once they were denied the full report, that would be their narrative going forward, that, hey, what you're not seeing in this report is X, Y, and Z, which prove that he was obstructing justice or whatever, and that Barr is lying. Please vote for Democrats. That was going to be the narrative. So Barr was like, okay, here's your report. It's redacted because that's what the law requires. So now they're going to the next step, which is, hey, we got the full report, but it's redacted. Every time you see that black mark over a line, that is the proof that there was collusion with Russia. That's the proof. And that was going to be their narrative going forward. If they get this thing unredacted, and I could see Comey, it's Mad Libs. Yeah. It's Mad Libs.
Oh, so somebody is already, Nadler's already filed for the full unredacted. Yes. It's already been filed.
He subpoenaed the full thing unredacted. I don't know how that could go through, but let's just see if it does. See if that holds up, and it does. I don't really care because I haven't been much of an expert on Russian collusion because back in 2016 we had already made up our minds that it was just a bunch of hogwash.
Right.
So we're not following it because our whole thing when we do the show Smith TV, we go and try to find the facts for you guys. We found the facts on the Russian collusion thing.
Been found.
We were done. You know, it was like another reason why I got out of the Las Vegas things. A lot of people forget the Las Vegas shooting. I was the lead on that from day two. On day 2 after the shooting, I was on Scopes talking all about that. And we got to a point where I was pretty much 100% convinced we're talking about one shooter.
Right.
I left open the possibility that some evidence might come out that would prove that there is a second shooter. And I wasn't 110% convinced that it was proven to be one shooter, but all evidence showed one shooter. So my point is that once I came to the conclusion, it's time to move on. We moved on from Russian collusion. Right. And so there are other people that became experts in it. And so there you go.
So Dan Scavino, the White House social media guy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He tweeted this out. Nadler 2019 versus Nadler 1998. I
did not see this. This is going to be interesting.
And then I got it because I don't get Donald Trump's tweets anymore. I literally wake up in the morning.
He's shadow banned.
And I go to his account on purpose to retweet every single thing Trump tweets out. And
so you don't get any of those notifications?
No.
I did for a brief period, but Twitter stopped doing that for me.
I only get them now because people I follow retweet. And that's the game. That's the name of the game right now, is for all of us to go through his timeline and retweet everything.
Yeah, it's important. There's definitely an algorithm that prevents his tweets, or anybody who's subject to these algorithms, from having anything go very viral.
Right, absolutely. So this is the White House social media guy.
Jerry Nadler.
Before and after, I'll say before when it's the older one, and I'll say after when it's the newer one. And it starts out with him after.
We are demanding, and we have a right, Congress has a right to the entire report with no redactions whatsoever. Much of this material is Federal Rule 6E material, that is material that by law, unless contravened by vote of the House, must be kept secret. We're entitled to see it because Congress represents the nation, and Congress has to take action on any of it. So we're entitled to see all of it.
The entire Judiciary Committee is going to see it to decide what must be kept confidential as protecting privacy of third parties. That means 50 people are going to see it. It's going to leak out. And those privacy rights are going to be violated, and that is ensured by this resolution.
He has said he will redact 4 classifications of information.
Right.
Our position is that he should redact none of it. It represents statements which may or may not be true by various witnesses, salacious material, all kinds of material.
Other than him losing about 150 pounds,
I was shocked that that was the same person. But good for him. Yep. I'm trying to lose weight myself.
Yep, no, definitely. But he also lost his mind.
Well, it just shows that when you hear these people talk and they're giving you their opinion based on whatever it is they're basing it on, it could be law, it could be some other fact out there that you don't know about or that he wants you to think that he knows about. Turns out they're all just telling you what they want you to believe. And here you go. Back then, by the way, for those of you that need more context on that back and forth, he was referring back in 1998 to redacting the Kenneth Starr investigation of President Clinton, Bill Clinton at the time, and comparing it to this investigation into our current president, Trump.
Now, why would he do that for Clinton? Because he wanted to cover. No, he was following the law. But honestly, the law was in his favor at the time. So go all in on the law when it's in your favor. When the law's not in your favor, go all out of the law.
Sort of. He was actually going against the law in both situations. The law
they were trying to write a resolution to release it.
Yeah. Well, the law that exists today that protects the innocents in the grand jury stuff. That's the stuff that's redacted. There was no law in place to protect that back in 1998, which is why the full Kenneth Starr investigation came out. And they subsequently made a law to protect it because of the Kenneth Starr situation. And now they're trying to circumvent that. So in both cases, this guy is just on the wrong side of everything.
And it gets even worse as people start to melt down over this thing. We've got our good friend at Trump 454545. She said she wanted to make sure you knew she's 45 president.
Okay.
So how can this dingbat, AOC, sign a letter of impeachment when she doesn't even understand what it means? Interviewer, what are the impeachable offenses? AOC. You guys just hear this.
In a bag and pull so many things out that are impeachable of this president.
Really?
I support impeaching this president.
2 and 3?
2 and 3.
Second and third thing to impeach
would be tax fraud.
What?
And number 3, man. I mean, there's just so much.
First of all, she didn't guess one.
Like the census, there's, I can't even, the tax bill, it's like, there's just so much.
The tax, there's so much, Carrie. There's so much.
I am so glad they put her on the spot like that. Wow. And by the way, you too can do this almost on a daily basis. I do it all the time. Whenever somebody calls Donald Trump a liar, which happens every day, probably tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of times on Twitter, you just have to be looking for it. Don't be afraid, because trust me on this, it'll work for you. Say, name a lie. Can you name one?
Just give me one.
Give one or two.
And you got to understand, defining a
lie.
lie.
He lies all the time.
Defining a lie, knowingly deceiving someone and saying something or doing something knowing that it's wrong.
And
that's a lie.
If they're really, really in tune to this stuff and their narrative, they might actually have something that could be construed as a lie that's really minor and everything like that. If that happens, which, by the way, that would be very rare if that happens, call them out on how insignificant it is, because it is very insignificant. But most likely, they'll completely ignore you, or they'll give you a totally made up, debunked lie. Totally debunked.
True.
And then that's when you can just totally make a fool out of them. And you saw that with AOC right here. That was really embarrassing.
Not only that,
Really.
but you're seeing it with little baby Brian Stelter.
Oh, gosh.
He's calling out good journalism, I guess, nowadays. I don't understand, but here's Brian Stelter and CNN.
And the other thing,
Brian Stelter tweeted this out of CNN host speaking about the Mueller report and their reporting of it. Shimon Pro is the guy speaking.
and the other thing this report did is that it really corroborated a lot of the good journalism that was done.
True.
In this
Smith
entire,
TV.
he went after all of us every single day. The New York Times, Washington Post,
What?
CNN.
No, they
and when you go
lied.
back and you look at this report and you're like, all
Right.
these stories that were fake news. Well, Mueller
They were
showed
fake!
that this was actually going on.
No, it wasn't.
Hold on, and for those
It verifies that when we called WAPO and New York Times and CNN fake news and the Daily Beast, we were right.
right, for those of you video or audio only, I'm sorry that the individuals are having a good time with the video portion. Somebody retweeted to this from the movie Airplane, Leslie Nielsen's, and the pilot saying, "Are you serious? You can't be serious." It's just, I'm serious, and don't call me Shirley.
Right. Oh my gosh.
This is painful for them. They're losing the big losses and numbers with Rachel Maddow. Huge losses. CNN, huge losses in general. People that were gaslit at first.
I was going to say it. I was waiting. I was like, is Brian going to say it? Gaslight. That video was, almost on a daily basis, Smith TV is bringing you great examples of gaslighting on CNN and these places. But that has to be one of the most glaring examples of gaslighting. For those of you, should I give them the real quick?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Crash course on gaslighting. There's a movie that came out, I think, in the 50s, black and white. It had
1943.
43. Oh my gosh, that's a long time ago. Angela Lansbury was in it, black and white. She was 18 years old. So that right there interested me in watching. Like, wow, I remember her from Murder, She Wrote, and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, it's a movie about a woman who has been driven insane by her husband or boyfriend or something like that, by constantly getting her to question her own memory and her own sanity by telling her falsehoods as if they were true, which are opposite of what she remembers. And then she starts to question because she trusts him.
Right.
And she's telling him stuff like, oh, I did this for you. Don't you remember? Where are those? He gave her earrings and he said, I'm going to put these in your purse for you. And she then goes and looks for the earrings, not realizing that he just put his hand in. And when he pulled his hand out, he pulled the earrings out with him. Later on, she couldn't find the earrings. She had to go cry to him that she lost them. And she then asked if he's sure that he put them in the handbag. And he goes, you saw me do it. You saw me.
See, you're doing. You're all the time. You're losing it.
So basically, gaslighting is telling you a falsehood as if it's true, as if they're trying to remind you. Like, you remember all that reporting that we did in CNN and the Washington Post. And New York Times, you remember all those stories about Russian collusion. And now
the Mueller
report that there's no way you're going to read, but we'll tell you what's in it, verifies that we were right the whole time. This is classic gaslighting.
For Mueller to I said it yesterday, for Mueller to hand off the entire thing and not rule on purposely, he did this, not rule on obstruction on purpose to force Barr, because he's got to wrap it all up, to rule on obstruction, left a window of out. Mueller did it on purpose. Yeah. He's part of the gaslighting crew.
Yeah, they want to be able
total and there's nothing illegal about that.
No. It just gives the opposition, because the whole thing was Oppo research, and it was not just research, but the whole thing was a part of the plan to be opposition in 2020. But it gave them an opportunity to say, "Damn it, that Barr is a liar."
Right.
It did not exonerate him, and now he's just making it up.
Right. And this Breitbart News. Chris Cuomo, I'm not going to let people say that CNN establishment media created the false narrative around Russia.
More gaslighting?
Look how upset. Oh, yeah. And then he goes to his crazy guy on the side. This is insanity, folks.
Oh, gosh.
I appreciate it. All right. So everybody's processing this in real time. Some of us do it more quickly than others. One of those who does it quickly is CNN's Chris Cillizza. So you hear what the state of play is going to be. I'm not going to let people say that CNN or the media or whatever have been creating a false narrative. Yep. This report is plenty of proof that the questions that have been asked repeatedly were legit, and that the answers we're getting consistently were not, especially once you get past the line of, hey, are you a felon? Once you move past that, the things they did, the meetings they had, the explanations they gave were wrong consistently. What are your takeaways?
All right, Chris, let me run through my takeaways, but one other point that I want to make too. The reporting was almost in every case correct. Read the Mueller report. All that reporting we and a lot of other outlets did had it nailed. Okay, but let me run through these.
Okay, hold on. He's going
to hit it nailed. But I don't want you to think about it too much. Don't think about it too much.
I got to slow it down for you. I have to do this. He's going to say some things, and we got to be quick because we're almost out of time. He's going to say some things, and then we've got to respond to it really, really quick. I'll hit the pause. Okay, here's going to say real quick.
I'm going to do these quick. Bill Barr did a lot of heavy lifting for Trump. Look, you and Attorney General Cuccinelli went through this. Barr did everything Trump would have wanted him to do at the press conference. Sometimes it sounded like he was quoting Trump verbatim. Okay, let's go to the next one.
Well, I mean, he did his job, I guess. I mean,
he quoted Trump verbatim.
No,
come on,
is there a problem with that?
And if there, whatever that is ridiculous.
It's a non-argument.
Explain. So this, you talked about this with Attorney General Cuccinelli. It's not about that the Trump campaign thought they would benefit and that the Russians thought that Trump would be a better president. That's in the Mueller report for them. That's in the Mueller report. There was not an express agreement for that to happen. Okay, let's keep going.
What?
An expressed agreement that Russia wanted Trump and that Trump wanted Russia. Expressed agreement. Because Trump called out and said, Russia, please go look for her emails. And so Russia did. It's in the report, Terry. It's in the report.
Yeah, that is so wrong.
Trump was even more involved in the investigation response of people know. Look, go to CNN.com, read my takeaways on this. There is a laundry list of things that Trump did, from telling Jeff Sessions that he'd be a quote-unquote hero if he unrecused himself. Let's keep.
Okay, so he's moving right fastest real quick. I did this all last night on yesterday's show. All the things that Trump did that they thought was possible obstruction was legitimately allowed to do. He was allowed to talk to the guy he appointed Attorney General and said, get your AWS back up in here and do your job, fool.
Okay. I mean, and there's nothing illegal about that and nothing even unethical about that, really.
I need you to get my back. You need to get up in here and do your job.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Mueller didn't exonerate Trump on obstruction because he couldn't.
Whatever.
He does not say
Hold on a second.
Obstruction. He also
Hold on a second. Barr exonerated him on obstruction because he could. So the idea that Mueller didn't because he couldn't is just an outright lie. This guy right here, I don't even remember what his name is.
Zilla
is a bold-faced liar. They just lied to you right there.
Doesn't say Trump didn't commit obstruction. That's important.
Okay, now he covered his butt by saying he couldn't because he couldn't find obstruction of justice, but didn't say obstruction of justice. Okay, so let's move on.
Let's keep going. Trump was very worried about the special counsel. I'm not going to quote what Trump said because I can't. I get fired on this air. But Donald Trump was really concerned when he found out there was a special counsel. Usually you're not concerned about things that you don't worry about. Is there another one?
No, because he dropped the F-bomb and said, "Oh my God, my presidency's over."
And by the way, what's the source of that quote? Where did they get that? They didn't have a recording of him saying it. It would have had to have been, and I'm sure Trump didn't tell him, yeah, I said that I'm effed.
Even if he said that, he knew the coup was going on.
Yeah.
He knew that,
Well, not only that, but I remember the lead up about 2 weeks before the special counsel was about to happen. They were still deciding on whether to have one. Rush Limbaugh had one of his most emotional freakouts on the air that I've ever heard, where he called it Oppo research for the Democrat Party. He said, if this happens, Donald Trump is effed. He didn't say that would be my closest Donald Trump is effed that Rush Limbaugh has ever said was his main show about the
because we knew it was
special counsel.
Right. We knew it was crooked. The FBI was crooked. Right. The CIA was crooked. And now the FBI and CIA got their wish. Special counsel for a full-blown investigation and make it all up.
Can't remember. The next fight will be on obstruction in Congress. That is where this is going to move. Even though Hoyer said no impeachment, I do think there will be a push to follow Mueller's lead and look into obstruction into Congress, particularly in the House. Back to you, Chris.
Chris Cillizza, you're so smart, you can't even keep up with your own ideas.
I never know how many are in there.
By ideas, I mean lies.
Lies. Yeah. Flat out lies.
Very, very dishonest.
Guys, we are out of time and you're going to hate me for this, but there's some bombshell droppings that have been strewn all over the place.
Oh gosh, splashed on the walls.
Judicial watch. Oh, I got to play this one. Oh, you've got to hear this.
We're going to go long for you, folks.
This has got to be done. I'll start the show early so that we don't overstep on
Wayne Dupree.
Yeah. This is Bill the liar. What's his face?
Yeah, Joyce, it's already been mentioned around here, though it would harken back to a conflict decades ago. We would not be surprised if some headline writer somewhere came up with Baghdad Bill Barr for what we saw today. I'm going to read you four.
Baghdad Bill Barr. I wouldn't be Brian Williams. I'm sick of Bill Barr. Brian Williams.
Oh, is he the one that lied about being under attack in Iraq or whatever?
Yes.
What a lie! How's this guy even on the air anymore?
Oh, he got fired and they brought him back.
Oh my gosh, this guy is. Didn't we? A lot of people looked really hard into his whole career and determined that this guy's just a sociopath, so as far as honesty is concerned.
Right. So now he's on MSNBC, and the big news, the big bombshells dropping on Friday. Judicial Watch just now received hundreds of thousands of new Clinton emails. One treasure trove was like 400 and some odd emails. Another one, 750 emails. Tons of classified information. Also, another bombshell Judicial Watch is dropping. Platte River Network. That was the company and the organization that was holding her emails to protect her. Chaffetz brought them in to testify. All three of them refused. They said, under advisement of my lawyer, I plead the fifth. And they kept saying that over and over and over and over. These guys had all the information. They literally had top secret information inside their office. Of Hillary Clinton, and then were told by their bosses to delete it all.
I mean, is that their problem if they do that? I mean,
no. No. I mean, you're right. I'm not saying they should go to jail. That's not what I'm saying.
Yeah, but the fact that it happened proved that Clinton should go to jail.
Right, and that this Platte River Network would probably be in trouble with their customers, if you will.
Right.
But they're not speaking, and they're tight-lipped because of all of this. So with that being said, guys, this is a Friday, Good Friday at that. You're watching New Right Network tonight. Your host, Brian Smith, and
Kerry Smith,
giving you all the breaking news of the day, wrapping it all up, making sense of it, exposing the fake news as we do, giving you the real news. And, man, just enjoy the weekend. Have an incredible Sunday with your family. Go to church. But that's okay. Even if you're that once-a-year churchgoer or twice-a-year churchgoer, there is nothing wrong with that. Because maybe one day you might say, hey, maybe I ought to go to church more often. We welcome it open arms.
Good for your soul.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys, we'll see you on Monday.
See ya.
You've been listening to New Right Network, mobilizing, countering, energizing. Online at newrightnetwork.com.